77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
King Giuliani King, the two best politicians in my lifetime, former Congressman, Homeland Security, and all in all American hero, my friend Peter King. Peter, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, but after those kind words, I feel bad in saying this, but with all the issues affecting the world today, I don't care about your brain injury, okay? I really don't. First of all, it's such a small item. How can we even know if it's there and we're worried about it? I mean, forget it. Forget it. Drop it. Put the bandage over your face. Nobody cares.
You will never, ever, ever have a better radio start than that. Just so you know. You've won. Congratulations, Pete. That was hilarious. Put the whole bandage over your face. Nobody cares. I think you're right. That was very, very funny. Thank you for the kind words. I did mention you and Giuliani, and I was told not to say who it was, but somebody from the Giuliani camp actually called me from the hospital yesterday. And just to say thank you for the kind words you say about Rudy. Rudy hears it. Andrew tells him he listens, he loves you, and he's in better shape, and he's really out of danger at this point. And he may be home in a couple of days, which made me very happy. I know it makes you very happy because, again, Pete King, Rudy Giuliani, kind of interchangeable. Amazing, Pete, when you find out that the priest was ready to read Rudy's last rites at his hospital bed on Friday or Saturday, and now he may be coming home in a couple of days.
Well, listen, there's always exaggerations about people, but there's no exaggeration to say that Rudy was the greatest mayor New York ever had. And not just a guy who made things good, a guy who saved the city. There would be no New York if Rudy Giuliani had not been elected mayor in 1993. I mean, many people forget or never knew how bad it was in New York City in 1990, 1991, 1992. It was absolutely terrible. I mean, people were actually asking, can you govern New York? Is it ungovernable? He turned it around. He did it with almost no support from the media, no support from the elite. He did it on his own with, again, I say on his own leadership with great people around him, stood with the police, stood with the firefighters, stood with the working men and women in the neighborhoods and got the job done. And also, I've known Rudy for many years. What you may not know is Rudy and I first met in 1967. He and I were summer interns in Richard Nixon's law firm. And
wow.
And there were 12 interns, and they divided us in 6 teams of 2, and Rudy and I were stuck together. And we fought half the time. Rudy was a very contentious guy. I was too. But he was a great guy. He was smart. One of the smartest people, if not the smartest lawyer I've ever met. I mean, he really was the guy could get to the guts of an issue, tear it apart, and then rebuild it. But he and I used to go back and forth on the train every day to work, and so I really got to know him well. And then, of course, we became mayor, and then I was very active in his campaign for president. And you mentioned Randy Levine. I remember Randy and I were down with Rudy in Florida the last weekend of his campaign in 2008. And what struck me then was the people who were there campaigning with Rudy were people that had worked with him for years in the mayor's office, going back 15 years. So he really kept people around him. He had a strong cadre of people who really stood with him no matter what. And so, listen, I am so glad that he is coming out of this. And actually, he did get the last rites. The priest gave him the last rites. If he got the last rites, they thought he was going to die. Now, you get them again if you live.
Right.
But he did get the last rites.
He did.
Really something very severe, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I wish him well. And again, New York will never, ever really fully pay the debt that it owes Rudy Giuliani. And when he went through the last few years, nobody should have had to go through all that. I mean, just the way they went after him, I say they, I'm talking about basically the media, the political class, was really unfair. And again, this guy saved the city.
He really did. I'm being reminded by my friends at University of Manhattan, University, I'm sorry, that Rudy A. Jasper, just like Ray Kelly, and also Mike Lawler. But right, so the question becomes now, it was bad in 92, 93 when Rudy took over, and like you said, did a remarkable job and saved the city. He took over 9 years before his unbelievable leadership during 9/11, and already by that point had started to save the city. It was bad then, but it may be worse now. I know this is a hypothetical, but could Rudy Giuliani, they turn back the clock 20-something years, could a younger Rudy Giuliani walk in here in 2029 when Mamdani is done destroying whatever's left after de Blasio and Adams? Could he save the city again?
It would be certainly much more difficult. For one basic reason is that the city council then, he was able to work with them. People like Peter Malone, you did have mainstream Democrats that you could work with. Today, the city council, except for 4, 5, 6 people, it's beyond hope. So that would really make it tough. But what he would do is he would change the debate. He would make it a fight, and he would probably begin it. It would take him longer to get it done, and it would take like another election to get it done. But I think he could. Listen, I had lunch yesterday with Vicky Palladino. And, when you talk about Joe Cairo and I had lunch with her, we have to go all the way to Queens. Vicky calls her shots. We have to travel into Queens to have lunch with Vicky. But it was great. But it was great to the extent of being informative. But you realize, especially on the inside, how bad things are in the city government today, how it's totally chaotic. It's really so many ways anti-American, anti-all these standards that really normal people live by. So it's really the people have lost control of their government, and we have to get it back. So it's not just one person. Rudy would be the best person to have in there, but then you'd have to really get the city council back, get some of the state legislators back. I mean, in those days also the Republicans control the state Senate. So, and then for part of that time, George Pataki was, in fact, the entire time that Rudy was mayor, George Pataki was the governor, so he had a Republican governor, Republican state Senate. He had a very middle-of-the-road, normal city council he could work with. And so it's really tough. The city is in rough shape now. I mean, really, you look at shining lights. Obviously, Jessica Tisch is one, but it's hard to find anyone in a real position of responsibility. The Republicans on the city council are doing the best, but they're outnumbered, 46-5. I mean, those are
not even close.
Odds, no matter how you look at it.
And of those 46, 24 are complete lunatics and progressive lunatics. And that brings me to a story that I've been covering all morning long. I have now dubbed Captain James Wilson out of the 94 in Brooklyn. He's been demoted now to the Bronx or some nonsense. He's a hero, okay? And I know that there is policy, and that's fine, okay? So maybe Tisch, the NYPD, had no choice. But I don't like the double standard. Why is it okay for the mayor to constantly criticize the police, go visit perps in the hospital, and on top of that, the city council, they hate the police as much as the mayor does. So when James Wilson gets caught saying to somebody at a protest, some loser, how much he's embarrassed by the mayor and the city and he hates Democrats, this poor bastard gets demoted. The city council members on Twitter this morning, every one of them are killing this poor cop. And I don't care what they do to him. As far as I'm concerned, Peter King, Captain James Wilson out of Brooklyn, he's a hero.
Yeah, I mean, listen, under our standards, there's always civilian control of the military, civilian control of the police, and basically civilians can say more than cops can. Having said that, it's always been the unwritten rule that, yes, cops don't speak out on political issues, but mayors don't go after the cops the way they are. So Mayor Mamdani has really broken the unwritten rule. Now, the captain may have technically violated the written rule, but Mamdani has time and again violated the unwritten rule that you don't have the mayor of New York attacking his own police department, and in the worst way. It's one thing if he said, I disagree with their tactics, I disagree with their strategies, but to basically say that they're racist, they're bigots, that they're anti-Muslim, they're anti-gay, I mean, all of that stuff that he said, and then when you had that demonstration at the hospital the other day, it was a riot, and ICE wasn't going after anyone. This guy was a violent criminal. He was in the country illegally. He had violent crimes. And they were taking him to the hospital for treatment. And then when he was in there, you had these neighborhood agitators stirring up this mob of animals to come out. And to me, this isn't even looked upon as something like a 50-50 or something to debate. It was wrong. And every cop there did the right thing. Those people had no business being there. It was terrible. And to me, I wish they could have locked them all up and the judge given them all prison time. Absolutely great.
Too.
I mean, it's really terrible. I'm just trying to think back years ago. My father was a cop. He wouldn't know what I was talking about if I said this was going on.
Crazy.
That they had brought in a guy who was a criminal here illegally, had violent crimes. They were following the law, and then you have hundreds of people in the neighborhood coming out, throwing stuff, and it's total chaos and violence. It's just incredible that the media doesn't give it the coverage it deserves. The extent that it was evil, it was wrong. The cops have nothing to explain themselves for. The cops were doing the right thing, and they probably should have done more.
Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.